What's up, everybody? My name is Nick Murphy. I'm one half of the Brothers Murph, and this is You Can Solo That? You Can Solo That is a series where I, or now Mike, take a game that has a solo variant, a solo mode, we play it and review it for you. We've done this series for a couple years now, and through that time, we've really started to love solo gaming. And now whenever a game has a solo mode, we get super excited. Sometimes we buy games because we're interested in them, and then we see, ooh, they have a solo mode, definitely gonna get it now. And that's how it was with our game today, which is Paladins of the West Kingdom, which is a game we really like in a series that we really like. I have done a You Can Solo That for Architects of the West Kingdom, which will be in a card right up there, and you can click on that and see how this one plays and what we think of it. A little bit of a spoiler, I actually didn't like that one very much. And so when we got Paladins of the West Kingdom, I was very intrigued because I was like, you know what? I was expecting to like Architect's solo version. I kind of didn't. So am I gonna like this one? Well, there's only one way to find out. So we're gonna get Paladins down to the table and we're gonna teach you how to solo it. Then we'll come back to me and I'll tell you what I think. Just a disclaimer, I'm not going to be teaching the entire game. I'm just me teaching what's different in the solo game. And actually in this game, your play, just the normal player, your stuff isn't different at all. You play the same, you score the same, exactly the same. I'm not going to talk about you at all. I'm going to be just describing what the AI does. But the AI in this game is pretty beefy, so there's a lot to get through. So let's go ahead and get started. As stated, your setup and gameplay are exactly the same, but we have to set up the AI. Take a leftover player board and flip it over to the solo side. All the boards are the same, so it doesn't matter which one you choose. The monks, outposts, and absolves will populate the board per usual, and all three attribute markers will start at 0 with influence on the bottom, faith in the middle, and strength on top. And it is important that they are stacked and remain in this order throughout the game. The resource marker will go on the leftmost space of the resource track, and the scheme cards will be shuffled and placed in the rightmost card space. If playing a standard game, reveal 3 King's Order cards and place one of the AI's workshops on the corresponding action spaces based on the King's Order cards. Then reshuffle the King's Order cards and place 3 face down on the board with 5 King's Favor cards as in a normal game. Then place 1 AI workshop on each King's Order card and 1 King's Favor scheme on each King's Favor card. The rest of the game sets up per usual. Now let's move on to gameplay. At the start of the first 3 rounds, a new King's Order will be revealed and the AI's workshop will be placed on the corresponding action on the AI player board. In rounds 3 through 7, a King's Favor scheme card will be added to the AI discard pile. You will reveal 2 tavern cards and choose one. The AI does not gain the workers from the leftover card, but still gains a suspicion card per purple worker on that card. Before we get into the AI actions, let's go over some details about the AI player. The AI will never collect silver, taxes, or provisions, and they ignore all provision and silver costs when taking actions. If they are ever prompted to gain these resources, you will instead move the resource tracker 1 space to the right for every resource they were supposed to gain. If the tracker reaches the rightmost space and needs to move, it will circle around to the left and continue. When this happens, the AI will move their lowest attribute marker up 1 space. If there is a tie for lowest, the attribute marker on top will move. This is why it's important to keep them stacked in the correct order of influence on bottom and strength on the top at all times throughout the game. If the AI is supposed to gain tax, they will remove the taxes from the tax supply on top of moving their resource track. The AI treats all workers as the same color, though they still gain suspicion cards when gaining purple workers. Each round, the AI will get 3 workers plus workers equal to the round number, so if it was the 3rd round, they would gain 6 workers. Okay, now let's get into actions. The actions the AI takes are based off of its scheme cards. You will always take the first turn, and when it's the AI's turn, you will flip over the top scheme card and the AI will do that action. If the AI cannot take the action due to it being blocked, not having enough workers, etc., they will instead take the leftmost available action on the action line here. Play goes back and forth, and the AI will keep taking actions until it's out of workers or it places a worker on the rest action. If the recruit action is drawn, the AI will attempt to discard the townsfolk based on where the resource tracker is. In this case, it will attempt to discard the second card. If that card is already gone, it will attempt to discard the third, and so on. Just like you, the AI gains the rewards when discarding townsfolk. If taking the prey action, the AI will remove all workers from the right side of the board and shuffle its scheme cards. Note that during a prey action is the only time these cards are shuffled. If there are no workers to remove during a prey action, the AI gains one worker. If taking the trade action, the AI simply moves the resource tracker one space to the right. During the conspire action, the AI will gain one suspicion card, removing taxes from the tax supply if necessary, and then will gain 2 workers. During the rest action, the AI will move the resource tracker one space plus 1 additional space for every worker left in their supply, and will take no more actions this round. Now let's move to the right side of the board, and note that for all of these actions, the AI must have the required influence, faith, or strength to carry out the action. If it doesn't, it will take the leftmost available action in the action line. If taking the commission or garrison action, the AI will attempt to place their leftmost monk or outpost onto the main board. They will claim a space based on availability in this order, starting with a free recruit action and ending with the discarding of a suspicion card. If there are multiple options for the AI to take, they will take the leftmost option. The AI gains the attribute bonus and the rewards just like you do, which may cause them to take a prey or recruit action. When taking the absolve action, the AI will flip over the leftmost jar, gain 1 faith, and remove 1 suspicion. And they will also flip 1 debt or remove an additional suspicion. If the AI ever needs to remove a debt or suspicion card but can't, they will remove 1 tax from the tax supply, though this does not cause them to move their resource tracker. During the fortify action, the AI will take a wall card and place it on their wall and gain the reward. When converting or attacking, the AI will attempt to take the cards corresponding to the position of the resource tracker. If that card is unavailable, they will attempt to take the next card to the right. They will place converted outsiders along the bottom of their board and gain any immediate rewards from converting or attacking. And finally, we have the King's Orders and King's Favors. If taking the King's Order action, the AI will attempt to take the action corresponding with the rightmost King Order card, in this case, attacking. If the AI has already completed that card, they will attempt to move to the next card to the left, and so on. If taking the King's Favor action, the AI will take the action corresponding to the position of the resource tracker, again moving to the right if it's unavailable. Once both you and the AI have passed, the end of the round takes place normally, with the exception that you remove 2 townsfolk and outsider cards instead of 1. The AI does not carry any workers over from round to round and does not shuffle their scheme deck. Set up for the next round normally and continue playing until you reach the end of the game. And now, let's get to scoring. Scoring is pretty easy. Scoring for both you and AI is exactly the same as in a normal game, with the exception that each outsider the AI has is worth at least 1 victory point, even if they didn't meet the requirements on the card. Count up your points and the AI points, and the player with the most points will win. So that was... nailed it. Paladins of the West Kingdom Solo Edition. Suck it, Rodney! So I wasn't a massive fan of Architects of the West Kingdom solo version, so what do we think of Paladins? I actually like it a lot. I do have some kind of issues with it, but ultimately I do like it a lot. One thing I didn't like about Architects of the West Kingdom is it didn't really feel like the same game. There's a lot of stuff the AI was doing that just didn't feel natural. It didn't feel like something that an actual opponent would do, and it constantly threw me off the game. This one though, your AI is mostly just taking places, taking spots, and getting a ton of points, and your play is exactly the same. You don't do anything different, and I really, really like Paladins of the West Kingdom, so I just get to play that, and it's great. But if you've watched a lot of our You Can Solo That's, you may know that I'm not a huge fan of solo modes where you have to do a ton of work on behalf of the AI. And that's one thing this game kind of has going against it. The AI is big. You can see that teach was pretty long. There's a lot going on, and on top of that, It's not like I'm doing my whole turn and then I have to do the AI turn. You're constantly having to bounce back and forth because I do one action, the AI does one action, boom, boom, back and forth. And so I'm constantly having to stop what I'm doing to go over here, flip a card, and some of it's very quick, very simple, like the trade action. Trade action, move the resource tracker, boom, you're done. But other ones like attacking or converting or garrisoning or commissioning, you then have to be like, okay, do I have the right strength that I need to garrison? Okay, I do. So what can I do up here? Oh, wait, let me see. Okay, so the first thing I have to check is see if there's a free recruit action within my strength range. There isn't. Okay, so then I have to go to the next one. Okay, there is, but there's two of them. So then I have to choose the leftmost one of that. And it starts getting a little bit involved. Now, it's not too bad. It happens relatively quickly, but I think because I'm constantly having to go back to it, it makes it feel like it takes longer. It makes it feel like I'm having to do more on behalf of the AI than it actually is, if that makes any sense. I think if I did one big turn and then I did the AI's one big turn, I didn't have to keep breaking my focus to come back and forth, I would like that part of it a little bit more. Now that whole thing sounded kind of negative, but in the end, I do actually like this game a lot. Now what keeps it from being a good solo game with me to being a great solo game is that time. This is a personal thing for me. I'm not a massive fan of really involved AIs. It's the same reason why I never had any interest in playing Scythe solo a lot, because the Automa was just very, very involved. And to me, I'm like, I just want to focus on my own game. But it's great because now we just have Scythe Digital. I just play that instead. But I have a tendency to like quick, easy AIs, and this honestly isn't that. But this AI is done very, very well, and I think the whole solo game is actually quite good. But overall, I actually really liked it, and I definitely liked it more than Architects of the West Kingdom. Now, Mike has played the solo version for Viscounts of the West Kingdom, so now I'm really excited to try that one. And then, of course, we're going to have to do a comparison of all three. But that's gonna be it for me in this You Can Solo That about Paladins of the West Kingdom. Have you played Paladins of the West Kingdom solo? Have you played it normally? Do you like it? Let us know down in the comments below. And until next time, my name has been Nick Murphy, and this is You Can Solo That? And we'll see you later. Thank you so much for watching that video. If you want to see that You Can Solo That for Architects of the West Kingdom, check out this You Can Solo That right there. If you want to check out Mike's You Can Solo That, check out this one of Isle of Cats down here. Mike did an incredibly good job on it. And make sure to share this video around and subscribe while you're at it. Thank you so much and have a great day.